Hello, I'm Dan from Ace RV Rentals and Sales, and today we're going to be taking a look at this brand new 2023 Thor 4Winds Model 28A. Just like always, I'll be giving you a full in-depth walkthrough with the inside and the outside, so you'll be all set and prepared when you decide to rent from us. Now, we like to say for our customers that our RVs are 12.5 feet high, so watch out for places like parking garages and drive-thrus, although most tunnels should be fine. This RV is also 30 feet long. Down here we have our generator. So the generator is basically a substitute for when you're not plugged in at a campsite. This will be powering all your major electrical appliances, your 120 volt inside. That'll be your TV, it'll be your microwave, it'll be your AC unit on the roof, and also your outlets. This is going to run on engine gas, so as long as you're at least a quarter tank full of gas, you can expect this to work. The only reason you'd have to come out here is in the case where you accidentally run the AC and the microwave at the same time. It's a bit too powerful for this generator and it will cause it to trip. So in case you do that, you're just going to take this top off like I did. Your breaker is going to be this little switch right here. This will flip backwards. So all you want to do is just flip it back towards you and you're all good to go. Everything else is handled inside. Next up here we have our propane tank. The propane tank of this size is going to last about a week or so before you'll have to refill it. If you do have to refill it, truck stations and campsites will do it for you. You have a little gauge here that will show you how full or empty it is, but there's also one inside. This is going to be powering things like your furnace and your hot water, also your stove and oven, and lastly the fridge when you're not plugged in at your campsite. We have our exhaust for the hot water and also the exhaust for the furnace, so of course expect these to be hot and don't put your hand there. And also down here we have a fully lockable small storage area. Next up over here we have our inlet for the TV cable, which we'll give you. So if you have a cable hookup at your campsite, you're just going to stick one end in the post and the other end into your inlet here. Once you're fully plugged in, you will be able to find all the local channels through cable. If not, you have an antenna as well, so you can find all the local channels through the air instead. Below that we have our power cord connector. So this RV takes 30 amp service, so you want to make sure that your campsite does have 30 amp connection. Once you're plugged in, all the major electrical appliances inside will be working on electricity, and you will not have to worry about using your generator at all. And you can use your AC and the microwave at the same time. In the back here we have our dumping station, so this will be how we'll dump out our black and gray waste tanks. All you're going to do is just take this hose that we'll also give you, you're going to take this end with the teeth, and you're going to clip it onto this outlet here. You're also going to take the other end with your elbow, and you're going to stick this in the ground at your campsite, your sewage, wherever else you're dumping. From there we have two color-coded valves. We have our gray valve for the gray tank, that's our sink and shower water, and we have our black valve for the black tank, that's our toilet water. Right now it's open, so if there were anything in the tanks, it'd be coming out right now due to gravity. We recommend you open up the black one first and then the gray one to kind of flush out your hose. Once they're both open, you can check the gauges inside to see how full or empty they are, and then when they're empty, you can just close them up, so just push them back in. You can unscrew your hose and you are all set. In the back here we have a bunch of inlets, so I'll start off with this tank flush valve here. You won't have to worry about this, this just helps us clean and sanitize the tanks out for the next customer. We have our freshwater inlet and our city water inlet here. You're going to use the same hose that we'll give you for both of these, but they have different uses. The freshwater inlet will be to fill up the tank itself. So if you're on the road, you're not plugged into a campsite, you're going to be taking water off of your tank, and this will be how you'll fill it up. That's opposed to your city water inlet. Once you're at a campsite, you want to take the campsite's water instead of your own. So once you hook up the same hose, but instead to this inlet, it will bypass your tank and it'll go straight into your pipes. Now we have one big storage compartment in the back here. So this is from the driver's side, but you can also enter it from the back or from the passenger side. We have these little storage areas all around. We have one for the spare tire and some others in the back. Now around to the back here, we have a few things to note. We have our rear view camera that'll go back about 8 feet when you're driving, but you can also leave it on when you're driving. Otherwise, when you put the RV in reverse, it will automatically pop up there. We have our service ladder that goes up to the roof. We ask that our customers do not go up to the roof, it's just for those service purposes. And then lastly, we have our second entry to the big storage area in the back. Now onto the passenger side of the RV, we have our last entry into the storage area where we have all the hoses and cords that we'll give you. So we have our sewer hose that I showed you already. And in this bag we have a few other things. We have our 30 amp power cord. We have this white hose here, which is your fresh and city water hose. You have this black wire here, which is our TV cable. And then we also have one of these 30 amp to 15 amp adapters you can put onto the end of your power cord. If you are plugged into 15 amp for this RV, everything inside will be working except for your AC unit on the roof. And you'll also notice that we have a foldable table that comes with this RV. Down here we have a propane outlet, which will connect to the propane tank. So if you have an external grill at your campsite, you can just hook it up in here and take propane off of your RV. We also have an outside shower here, so a little spray hose you can hook up in here. So if you have dirt or sand on you before you head inside, you can just wash that off. We also have some power outlets right here. So you just want to make sure that you're plugged into shore power at your campsite or the generator is running for these to work. This here is the exhaust for the refrigerator. It's going to start leaking water. It's just condensation, so there's nothing to worry about. And lastly, we have a long storage area here, usually for things like beach chairs and umbrellas. And that concludes the outside portion of this walkthrough. We can head inside here. You'll notice that we have a detachable screen door for this cabin door as well. So they'll just clip on just like that. We have a few things to note at the entrance here. We have our fire extinguisher to my left, and inside we also have a smoke detector and a carbon monoxide and propane detector. To my right here we have all of our lights. So we have our inside galley lights for the ceiling right here. We have our inside step light, this one right here. We have our cargo light, so if you want to use any of the lights inside your storage areas, you're just going to make sure that that is on. We have our outside step light, that's going to be beneath here. You'll be able to see it at nighttime. And we have our LED strip for the awning outside. And we have the switch for the awning itself. So we can just hold this down to extend the awning and hold the other end to retract it. Now the lights in the awning, along with the water pump and the furnace, are all going to be working on the house battery, and this is the dial to turn on and off the house battery. The house battery itself is actually underneath these steps right here, and it'll be for those very minor electrical things that I mentioned already. You can leave this on since your house battery will run when you are driving, or when you're plugged in at your campsite, or even when the generator is running, that'll charge it. Also at the entrance here we have probably the most important part of the inside of the RV. We have our control panel, which will tell you pretty much everything you need to know. So I'll start off in the corner here where we have the levels of all your tanks. So as I push down on each of these buttons, they'll light up from empty to full. So for example, LPG, which is your propane, I'll hold that down. You can see that that's 2/3. We have our level for the house battery, our fresh water, our black tank, and our gray tank. Below that we have a bunch of switches, so I'll start with these two. We have our tank heaters for our black waste tank and our gray waste tank. You're going to turn these on if you're traveling to a place where it's below freezing so that your waste tanks don't freeze over. We have our switch for the water pump here, so if I turn this on, you'll see that this little light turns on here. This helps you draw water from your water tank. In other words, if you were plugged in to city water at your campsite, you actually want to have this off since you want to take their water instead of your own. And lastly, we have two options to heat up our water. Either of them will take up to 15 minutes, so plan that much in advance if you plan to use hot water. If you aren't plugged in at a campsite, we can use LP gas, that's your propane, to turn on and heat up your water. If you are plugged in at your campsite, you can save propane by using 110 volt electricity instead. In this corner we have our generator. So this number will tell you the total number of hours the generator has been running ever since it was manufactured. So right now it says 2.8 hours. We recommend you have the generator on for no more than 3 hours at a time, and then have it off for about 2 to 3 hours just to prevent it from overheating. Next to that is our switch to turn on and off the generator. To turn it on, you're actually going to hold down stop for a few seconds just to get it ready, and then once you do that, you can hold down start. You'll hear it turn on, and there you go. You're going to wait about 30 seconds, and then when you hear the microwave beep, that means everything inside will be working. With the generator on, I can now show you how to find channels on your TV. So once it's on, you're first going to press input here, and make sure that your input source is set to TV. Once you do that, you'll press menu here. You're going to go over to channels, go down to auto channel search, And then if you are not using your cable, you're using the antenna, you're just going to press antenna here. But if you are at a campsite, you can go over to cable from the wall. I'll just press antenna here, and then it'll take about 5 minutes to find channels for you. In the bedroom here, we have our thermostat so we can control our AC and furnace. All you want to do is just keep pressing this mode button to cycle through the different modes. So you can see it's off right now. I'll press it once, that means it's just the fan. I'll press it again, you'll see the snowflake, that'll be the compressor in your AC. I'll press it one more time, that's your furnace. That'll use a bit of your propane and a bit of the house battery. And then I'll press it one more time, that's off. This here will control how fast the fan goes, and this will be your temperature up and down. To turn off the generator, just hold down stop here for a few seconds. We'll continue in the back here with our master bedroom. So we have storage up and around the bed. We have a TV, second one in the back here, and we also have a little privacy curtain, a little accordion style that'll come out like that. Next, we'll take a look at the bathroom here. Most of it is self-explanatory, but I'll just go over a few things. For the toilet, you just want to make sure that you push down this pedal here to flush it, and make sure that the water pump is on if you're not plugged in at a campsite. Toilet paper is RV specific, so you want to go to a campsite will sell it, or the camping section at Walmart, it'll be RV Marine dissolvable toilet paper. During your rental, we'll also give you these small bottles of solution for the black tank. In case the smell comes up, you can just pour a little bit of that down there just to freshen it up. On the other side here, we have a standard shower. You just want to pull this toward you and open it up just like that. Now onto the kitchen area. To my right here, we have our fridge. This is going to run on propane when you're not plugged in, and then when you do plug in at your campsite, it will automatically go over to electricity. So no matter what, your fridge will stay on the whole time, along with your freezer of course, and your food will stay cool. To my left here, we have a standard house microwave. So again, just make sure not to run the AC and the microwave at the same time when you're on the generator. Below that here, we have our stove. I'll just take this top off here. We have our knobs for the 3 burners, and then we have our igniter switch right here. So I'll just set this to a little fire option. You can hear the propane come out, and I'll just hit that once, and then there you go. Below that here, it looks like an oven, but it's actually a big drawer area, usually for storing pots and pans. Once you're done with the stove, you're going to wait a few minutes before you put the top back on. Just in case the propane gets trapped in there, it might shatter the glass. I'll also point out our kitchen sink here. We have a little bit of a cover for some extra tabletop space, and then this will also come out. As I said before, we have our smoke detector at the entrance here, and we also have a carbon monoxide and propane detector down here. We also have our fuse box and circuit breaker box down here, and we'll give you some extra fuses for that during your rental. In the living area, we have seat belts for our sofa and our dinette for 4 total. These both turn into beds, and I'll show you that in just a minute. The sofa will pull out like a futon. So you're just going to pull it up and out like this. To convert the dinette, first you're going to take these cushions out. Pulling these cushions out, you'll notice that we have an anchor for a child seat here as well. This tabletop has a little latch here, so when it's over to the right, that means it's locked in. You're going to pull it over to the left here to unlock it, and you can just push it down like this. And lastly, you're just going to take these cushions, put them in this format, and here's your bed. For these windows, you have a little latch here, so when it's pushed down, that means it's locked, and then when you push it upwards, that will open it. Then you can just pull it out to open, and push it in to close. And for the blinds, they're just pulled down and pushed back up. Something that you'll also begin to see in some newer RVs is we have a wireless charging station right here on the dinette. And you'll also have a USB and a USB-C charger here as well. We have an additional overhead bunk here. You'll just take this big cushion and pull it out. Just like that. We have a privacy curtain that'll go across the top here. And we have another privacy curtain here that will connect to these 2 Velcro. So at night, you'll be completely covered in the front. Most of the settings here are mostly just like a regular truck or car. We have our AC over here, we have our lights on my left here, and we have our windshield wiper end for towing here. I'll direct you to this display in the front here, we have a bunch of different things. We have our radio here, we have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can connect your phone with Bluetooth just regularly that way. And if I swipe to the left here, we have our rear view camera, which you can keep on when you're driving. If I turn on my left or right indicator, you'll also have a side view camera for each side. So this is our right, and this is our left. As far as the keys go, we have our ignition key right here. We have our outside storage compartments with this gray key, and then we have our cabin door with this purple key. We'll give you our contact information on this keychain as well, and you'll also have a number there if you have any questions about your rental, and we'll give you a separate phone number if you have any problems with your RV that'll call a 24/7 roadside assistance number. By my left foot here, we have our parking brake, so I'm just going to push down my foot here, that'll engage it, and then to release it, we have a little handle here. And that will be it for our 2023 Thor Chateau Model 28A. I'm Dan from Ace RV Rentals and Sales, and have a great trip.